Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So it's been a long time. We haven't done a lot of coding recently. So I just thought about doing some live coding. So I'm just waiting if more people will join me, and we'll definitely do some live coding. And we are just getting started. In the meantime, let me just set up things. Let me just check if things are working as expected. Okay, cool. So what we are going to do today, let me know in the comments if you can hear me well, if you can watch it well, and then we will be jumping in and we will be trying out a few things. We will be trying Project IDX, we will be trying Gemini, and we will be trying my new state management. So should we start? Just let me know in the comments if you are already here, if you are watching me and you are ready for the uh, if you are ready for the live stream, live coding. Okay, so right now this is not VS Code. This is Project IDX, as you can see here. Here, this is Project IDX which we are using, and this is the name of our application, Play Flutter. There are a lot of things which we have here. Um, and what we are going to do, we will be using Gemini inside it, and we will be also seeing that how things work. Anyway, so going back, so what I'll be doing, first of all, let's get rid of this piece of code where we have the default Flutter app, and let's also delete this home. So now we should see a blank black screen, which is what we want. Now let's do some experiments and let's see how we can ask Gemini to do things for us. So here you see the Gemini thing in the bottom. If I just zoom it a little bit, you can see here, this is what we call Gemini. And we can use this Gemini. And let me just do one more thing. I'll just set it to do not disturb. Okay. Now here, what I can do is I can basically write some prompt. So let's start with this. Help us writing a Flutter app which is having a login page and a to-do page. This is just for demo. We won't be using this particular view for Gemini, but rather we will be doing something in the code. So it gives us some idea that you can write Flutter create my demo app, cd my demo, you can do, and then this is the piece of code which you can use. And it's not bad, it's a good start. And I think you will get some idea at least from here, because these are some of the things which you can do with Gemini. What I am going to do is I will be going to use inbuilt Gemini inside VS Code, and that will be my main way to do things about it. So in the lib folder here, let's create a new file. Let's say login page dot, and we can create another new file which we can call, let's say, to do page dot, right? So we have two files. And let me know in the comments, by the way, if you can hear me well and you can watch things pretty well. So in the login page, I can ask Gemini to do something. I can press Command I or Control I if you are using Windows, most likely, and I can ask it that, okay, create a login page which has a logo, username, and a password with an action button, and make it stateless. Okay, so what it will do, it will create a stateless widget for me. And it gave me some idea. I'm just going to directly accept it because I don't have enough space on this screen. So let's do that. And it is a stateless widget, and there is also this license thing which it shows me, which is fine. And here I see image dot asset. I will just say replace this thing. So I'll say Command I slash fix, replace it with a Flutter logo widget, let's say Flutter logo widget. And what it will do, it will replace it with something else, and it's a Flutter logo now, which is cool. And then I can just see what are the warnings I'm getting. For example, in here, quick fix, and I can add const modifier everywhere. So this is what we get. Now we can replace this login page. Okay, this is also fine. In the main dot, we can have this home, which will be taking the login page, and we can import it, and we can just quickly say const. Oh, this, there we go. So we have a login page, and how much time it took? Maybe few minutes, which is a good start. I think this works really well. Okay, username is there, password is there, and if we click on the login button, something should happen. In the web also we see the same results. In fact, web looks better to me, which is pretty cool, right? So this is pretty good. And Gemini is working well. I will do few more things here. Again, please let me know in the comments if everything is working fine for you, so that we can, like, use this video for future reference as well. Anyway, so now in the to do page also, we can say that, generate a to do page with all functionalities, something like this. You can modify your prompt according to your needs, but I'm trying to make it as simple as it can be. So right now, if you see, it's a very simple prompt that, just generate a to do page with basic functionalities. And we see that it generated a stateful widget for us, which is again a to do page. We can just convert it to super.key. We have a list of to dos, and then we have a add new to do and things like that. And we have a button to delete it as well, which is what we want, right? So if I go in the main.dart, let's replace it with a to do page. And if I do that, again, we are using project IDX, we are not using VS Code. And here we go, like, this is pretty good. And let's say we go to web is much more interesting in my opinion. I mean, Android is also good, but this is faster, I guess. Write to do app. Let's press enter. Oh, enter is working pretty well. So what is the logic of that? If you see, when we say on submitted, right, on a text field, so on submitted is basically, it also happens when you press the enter button. So it is it is triggering based on that, and from here we can delete it as well. This is pretty good. But right now we have used set state only, and that's where I will introduce you to my new state management solution. I hope you will like it, and at the same time we will be seeing how Gemini can help us with all these things. Okay, so let's go back and make it a to do page. Okay, what we can do, what I like about IDX as compared to Dartpad is that in Dartpad you cannot use your own dependency, right? But in IDX it is a full VS Code environment in cloud. So you can go into pubspec.yaml, and I am going to say, command shift P and add dependency, and I can just say my new package, which is data flow. So I will ask Flutter pub to add it. So Flutter pub add data flow. The current version is 1.1.0. When you are watching this video, it is very much possible that the version might change, which is cool. And what I'm gonna do is, how data flow works is that you have a store and you have certain actions, and you can do things like that. Okay, let's start. So first of all, let's create a new file which we will be calling store.dart. So this store will be our single source of truth where everything will reside. For example, let's say we call it app store, and it extends data store. And let's import data flow here. Now this can have things like, if the user is logged in or not. So we can say is logged in, and let's say it is false by default, right? And okay, so this is one thing which we have. And what we will do in the main.dart, what we can do is we can get access to our store. Or before that, we will have to initialize our store, right? So how we will do it? So before this run app, we can initialize our data flow. So how we will do it? We can say data flow, and we can import it. And dot, you can see it is also giving me suggestions. So if you see dot in it, and yeah, this is cool. And here I can pass my store, which is app store, and I can pass some middlewares as well if I want. But right now, let's say I don't have a middleware, so we'll just go with this. And here what we can do is we can also get access to our store. So how we will get access to our store? We can say store is equal to data flow dot get store, and we can also provide the type of our store. And yeah, we will get the store, and we will see if we are logged in. Let's say if it says store is logged in, then we will show a to do page, else we will show a login page. It's as simple as that. If I do a hot restart now, let's say full reload, so right now the is logged in is false, right? If you say it is logged in is by default false, so ideally it should show me the login page, and this is what it does, right? But if I make it true, then it will be showing this to do page, right? But right now the challenge is that it should be working, right? So login page should have this thing where when I press on login, add your login logic here, so that should trigger this to do page, right? So what we can do is we can go here and we can write one action. So let's say we can create a new file. We will call actions.dart for now, just to make it simple. I'm just creating new classes, and we can say the like login action. Okay, and what it will take, it will give us like it will extend a data action, and data action again can specify app store as a type, which is fine. And now it will create one, like it will override one function called execute. And here we can create a scenario like when you press on the login button, it goes to some api and it does some stuff. So what we will do, we will make it asynchronous, and we will have certain delay, future dot delayed, and we can have duration, let's say seconds, 2 seconds. So after 2 seconds, let's say this 2 second duration is actually something we are fetching from the api. And what we can do is we can also take username and password here. So we can say, and see, this is how Gemini is working, which is giving us all these, like prompts kind of thing by default, or not prompts I should say, but a response, like streamed response sort of thing. And now we can say, and you don't have to, like, you will have directly access to store here. If you will just write store, you will get the store. You don't have to initialize a variable or anything like that. So we can say that if, let's say, username is, let's say, equal to user, and password, okay, is equal to, let's say, pass. If this is the situation, then only we will log in the user. So we will say store dot is logged in true. Else what we can do is we can throw a new exception. So throw an exception saying that, invalid username or password. This is how any system looks like in a nutshell, right? Like, I mean, there will be some api which you will hit. Based on that, this thing can be like, initially you can also check if the username dot length is not empty, and password is not empty. Okay, if that is the case, then we can directly say that, like, username and password cannot be empty. Otherwise we will hit an api. Let's say this, so this delay is basically hitting an api, and if we get this result, if the username is like this and password is this, then we will say okay, logged in. Otherwise we'll say it's not logged in. It's as simple as that. And idx is basically a cloud id. By the way, someone asked this question in the comment right now, that idx क्या है. तो idx एक id है cloud में, which is basically, which can work as a vs code replacement, where you don't have to do any sort of setup. You can directly open your browser and you can do anything you want to do. Anyway, so this is what we have this login action where something is happening, some API is getting hit or things like that. We can go into the login page, and when we say on pressed, we can add a logic here and we can say login action. Okay, and username, how we will pass username and password. So what we can do, we can ask IDX again that generate two fields for username, sorry, let's say two controllers, one for username and one for password. So everything we can ask like IDX and Gemini to do for us. So it generated this final username controller and password controller. So what I can do is in the text field, this controller, I can say username controller, and of course it cannot be const anymore. So let's do that. And this one can be having password controller. So this is also fine. I think this is cool. Again, it cannot be const. And now when we press on the login action, we can say username dot controller dot text and password controller dot text. Okay, this is cool. And so now what, like when I press the login button, there should be some indicator which should come first of all, and then based on the result, either we will go to the login page or we will not. So what we can do is we can wrap this elevated button with a builder which we can call data sync. So this data syncs listen for all these actions. So for example, we call login action, right? So what we can do is we can say app store here. Okay, and this builder will have context. It will give us access to store and it will give us status access, right? And you can say that what actions you should listen for. So let's say we say that, we are listening for action, login action. Okay, and I can also import this and we can make it const. And okay, there is some issues that, there were some issues, you have to do hard reset and all those things. We can do that, that's fine. Let's say hard restart, so it will restart the server, which is fine. So basically what we did, the elevated button, we wrapped it with the data sync because we don't want to refresh any other part of the UI. We just want to refresh this login button, so it should show either, like there is a login, so there's a loading bar when you press on the login button, and then based on the success or failure we will do something, right? Something like that. So we have an action. Let's say we can also have an action notifier. So basically, there are two things. Actions are for when you have to rebuild a UI. Notifiers are for when your build is completed. Now you want to show a snack bar or you have access to context. You want to do something. Let's say you want to show a snack bar, show a dialogue, navigating to some other page, things like that. So that also we will do. So here we can have an action notifier where we can use a login action. So let's say login action, it takes a map and now it will give you again access to context, it will give you access to action, and it will give you access to status, and based on that we can do something. So we'll see that. So now it is there. Now okay, we can do a full restart of this as well. Okay, what we are lacking now, I think there is some issue in the code base. Okay, here, so we will just write a semicolon just to end this particular thing. So I think we are good now, and we should be having the server ready. Full reload, and let's try again, start the server again. So I mean, see, from a tutor perspective, this is actually very good that I don't have to do any sort of setup. I have everything here. In the meantime, hi Sagar, how are you? And Vikram, Ram Ram. Anyway, so I mean, this is pretty good. Now we see some web like preview now. I think it should work now because we just restarted the server. We have this, right? So now let's try, if I press the login button, what happens. So I press the login button, something should happen, right? Or something might happen, but I cannot see it. So what we can do is, we can say, use default widgets to true, which means it will show me default widgets if there will be any. Okay. Now let's do the same thing again. Let's press the login button once we have the UI, and see, once I press the login button, you see that we see an exception: username and password cannot be empty, and blah blah blah. This is a very bad sort of exception, which is not very friendly, honestly. So what we can do in this case, we can, first of all, there is this overflow issue. We can fix that by just wrapping this column to let's say single child scroll view. This is the one thing which we can do. Also, what it wants. Okay, let's remove this as well. So now it is using the default widgets, and for error, what I want, error build, disable error builder. So I want to say that disable the error builder. So when I press the login button, then there should be some UI changes. I mean, there should be a loader or something, but after exception there should not be anything. So okay, I pressed the login button, nothing actually happened. Let's see if things are working or not. What I can do is, in the action notifier thing, if let's say there is the status is showing some error, if let's say status is equal to data action status dot error, then what we can do, we can show this error dot to string, something like this, which is pretty cool. Let's again wait. So what we did, we disabled the error builder. We are still using the default widgets, and let's press on the login button and see, this is the snack bar which came up with this error, which is fine. And let's say disable loading builder is false, so ideally we should see the login builder. Let's try this one as well. Hi Dev. And you can see we have the exception, and it is coming as k fault. It's not a very typical exception, like this is showing me the exception, but there are some other things also which is coming along with this, which is fine. Also we can do is, we can show the loading button or loading builder. We can have something for that as well. That's totally our call. But okay, what about we add certain things to here? So for example, let's say we add abcd something something here, and then we press on a login button, then you see that we have this loading bar, and then we have this exception, which is a decent exception, but not really very helpful. So what we can do is, in the action itself, we can also override one thing, where we can say that we have except on exception, and we can do is, okay, we can say print, or let's say we can say error we have here, and we can call it e dot string. Okay, let's try this one. And now if I go back to login page, and if I try this, okay, this is interesting. This didn't take the hot restart, by the way. So one more thing is that whenever you do that, you should also make sure that you clean your this controller and things like that. So what we will do is, we will go here, we will try in this, we will say, let's say something something, and password something something. We click on login, there is a login bar which we see, and okay, that's cool. So nothing is happening. Why? Because we are overriding this exception, and we are not throwing anything. So we can throw an exception from here again, saying that okay, this is the error which I want to throw, or let's say I can do something about it. One thing which I see is key, when you do hot restart, then this thing gets a little bit slower. So this is something which we can see here. And let's try to go back and see if we see anything here. Okay, not yet. This is looking cool. We have still some things to work on. Maybe let's get rid of this exception in the first place, and let's try with user and pass. And then also one more thing is, when you like when you say that this is something which is getting triggered, then how you will make sure that your main also gets triggered with this particular thing. So what we can do is, this entire thing also, rather than this, we can remove it, and then we can let's say we can say data sync. Okay, which will again listen for app store. And what we can do here, in the builder part, it will again take these three things. So you can see it gives me this idea that okay, and we can again now check for this thing, that if the store is this, and we can look for action, which is login action. Okay, so now what will happen, let's try with the proper result. um let's say we will say user, we will say pass, and let's log in now. And you can see we are logged in to the new page, which is what we wanted. And if I press the back button, maybe it should take me to the login page, or maybe not, because we have not written anything for technically we haven't written anything for navigator yet. But yeah, I mean, this is ideally working. As we press the back button, it goes back to the previous state. If I write something wrong here, then it will just throw an exception, which is again good. But this exception, as I said, it's not very friendly. It should be more friendly, which we can fix later. But yeah, invalid username or password, and then we have things like that. So this is how you will write things here in the to do page. Again, we can do the same thing. We can write like, let's go to the to do page, and we can customize all these widgets, by the way. And here also we can rather than having a stateful widget, we can write some stateless widget, and we can still get the job done. So I think this is pretty good. I mean, this gives you a good idea about how to get started with IDX. This is not a bad thing to try out. I mean, for smaller projects, this is pretty cool. For larger projects, I would still use VS Code, because that gives me better speed. And for smaller projects, I can use it. And Gemini also works pretty good. I won't say it is the best. I would say it's decent. I mean, if you are getting it for free, then what's the harm in using it? That's what I will say. And then of course, try my this new state management package, which is data flow. I hope you will like it. And that's it about this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and you'll see more videos coming in the future. So thank you so much, and see you in the next one. Thanks for watching in this like at probably right around midnight. So see you in the next one. Bye bye. Take care. Have fun. Try IDX, try Gemini, try Dataflow for your next Flutter project.